Hey guys, Compulsion84 here. Today I'm doing a video comparison between four devices: my phone, my Logitech 920C webcam, my Sony a6000 camera, and my new Panasonic V770 camcorder. What I'm going to be doing is doing kind of a general detail test with each of those under various light conditions. I got this new camcorder to try out. The a6000 takes fantastic video, but it's very difficult to record yourself with. So I'm trying out this camcorder to see if I can get similar levels of detail under various lighting conditions. And I'm specifically focusing on interior light with somewhat low light. Alright, I'll throw up a picture of that horrible mess that I've very precariously put two cameras on. And now I'm going to put my phone in video mode. Here we go. And crudely position it right here. My idea is compare the two important ones, the Sony a6000 and the Panasonic V770, and do it under various light conditions. My plan is to do this with only the light from the two monitors that are exposed, then low light with a little task light, a lamp on the left on low, the lamp on the left on high, and then I'll do both the lamps at low and then both on high at the same time. And these are just cheapo Walmart lamps that are, I don't know, 50 watts, 100 watts, 150 watt toggles with regular CFL bulbs, nothing fancy. And again, the reason for me is I want to make sure I can get good details with all of these cameras, or to compare these cameras in various circumstances. One thing I think I forgot to mention in the video is I've got links in the description below to all the equipment that I discuss in the video. And if you decide to pick any of it up, please use the links because it helps support the channel. So now I'm shooting in spooky mode. I'm only lit by the glow of the LCDs in my main monitor. I live in my mom's basement mode. Now I've got a couple objects, I didn't show all of them, to kind of show the different levels of detail and maybe some colors. So I got a souvenir from Margaritaville I got a long time ago. It's got some toppings and tomato and lettuce. So there are some different colors in there. So anyways, there's this. It's got some writing. You might be able to read it. My other prop, this will be really hard to see. I've got one of my ARs. The reason I chose this is because it has a lot of detail with rails, edges. Which at least the webcam is picking up more detail than I thought. The next thing, I've got some engineering graph paper, which is an off-white kind of tan color with light green lines. Alright, so hopefully those two weren't a complete waste of time. So now I've moved on to one lamp on the low setting, and I think this is like a 60 watt bulb, CFL-ish. So again, just me. I wore a shirt with some straight edges, these PAX. This PAX logo is got a lot of, kind of clean, crisp lines on the lettering. Got my detailed firearm. And I don't know if some of these track motion differently. Woo! Alright, my delicious cheeseburger, which is actually working way better in the webcam than I expected. My paper. So now we've got one CFL lamp at about 125 or 150 watts. The no product placement cheeseburger. This thing is actually pretty soft. It's totally ridiculous. I love it. The engineer's favorite kind of paper. Alright, so now we've moved on to how I typically shoot, because again, I don't like to have really bright lights in my eyes, and most of the time, especially if it's dark out, which I intentionally waited for sundown, is just the two lights at about 60 degrees CFL each. I will note the one on the right I think is a daylight bulb, and the one on the left is a more yellowed bulb, if you can even pick any of that up in the video. And we've got the Quad Rail AR-15. Something I didn't remember to point out earlier is, can't cover my mouth. One thing I forgot to point out earlier is there is paintings in the roll mark down here, so you could kind of pay attention to that. Maybe jump back in the video to see how it compares. I think the only decent results I'm going to get are going to be from this test and the next one. The other ones are just kind of a baseline of trying to benchmark this this camcorder, and to see if it's worth keeping. I thought about buying a Panasonic GH3 mirrorless camera, because it has exquisite detail, but a camcorder is a little bit easier to use and might be just better for this YouTubing type thing. So I'm trying this out, especially because it's $300 cheaper, and if I get good enough detail, I will, keep this one. The fabric food item. I think I got this when I was like 12. This thing is old. And the lines on the paper, which you might be able to see. And then if you've never seen this stuff before, it's got a darker, stronger base that you can kind of see through. So there's like a light crosshatch pattern. So that's exciting. So this is as bright as it gets for me. Having sat in the dark, these are actually kind of bright at, 125, 150 watts each. Yeah, so let's keep going. My long range AR that should be in detail now. Your last shot at my 2-foot-ish diameter cheeseburger. The colors. Oh, I've been up too long. And finally, paper. Alright, so I think all the cameras didn't move in this super rickety mess that I piled 3 onto. So in my mind, this is about ideal for recording inside. If the cameras can't hack this, then that's a huge problem. There will be a follow-on shot at a different time, different place, after I've edited all this together and formed some sort of opinion based on the footage, what my thoughts are on each of these. I know my webcam takes okay 1080p and decent lighting. My A6000 takes fantastic recordings, but it's a pain in the butt because it overheats, has no way to see what you're recording. There's no 180 flippable screen. And what's the other thing? Oh, it has no external mic hookup. I know it takes crisp video. Camcorder's a complete free radical. And my phone does decent in with moderate light, so I don't know what's going to happen with that really. I've taken some kind of grainy, low quality videos in low light, so I'm really eager to see what happens with that too. So this is partially a fun experiment for me too. Alright, we're back to the present. So my conclusions from looking at this video footage a whole bunch of times, and even more valuably, something you guys didn't see is I used that camcorder for about a year, and then I used a mirrorless camera for about a year after that. So I've got a lot more, personal data and experience that I've learned since I shot this video. So after this testing video and then all the experience I've gathered, what's my conclusion? Well, kind of unsurprisingly, is if you want the best video, you should use a mirrorless or a DSLR camera. And I've got a bunch of points that I thought were really worthwhile to share with you. So I was very surprised that my Motorola Turbo 2 shot better video than the camcorder, and it also beat the webcam, which wasn't to be expected. Webcams, at least specifically my Logitech 920C or C920, does a pretty decent job with ample light. But if you've only got a single light or a dim light, it doesn't do the best detail-wise. A camcorder in the about $500 range will get you pretty good detail, but it will be inferior to a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. You will also suffer in the color accuracy and color range with most camcorders. I was a little bit surprised my phone actually had a pretty good color range. Obviously that has a vast difference, but if you've got a mid to high-end phone, you may get pretty good color accuracy. Something I didn't test or I didn't even record for the channel is avoid $200 camcorders. I bought one of those and the video was so noisy and the detail was so bad, I returned it almost immediately. In my opinion, it didn't even warrant a test because it was that bad. So if you want any sort of decent looking footage, you're better off using your phone versus a $200 camcorder. Something I will note that I screwed up on when I made this video is some of the Sony a6000 mirrorless footage, the colors are way off. That is not the camera's fault. I did not know how to use a white balance card, something I do now, so now it's properly adjusted. So some of that footage looks very yellow. That does not mean the camera can't capture it properly. It means the camera was trying to auto white balance and it didn't do a good job. What you should do, hold on. What you need to do is get one of these $8 or $10 white balance cards and then balance your camera before you shoot. It's a really easy thing that takes 15 or 30 seconds to do. and it should be part of your schedule every time you record footage if you want the colors to be best. You can adjust this in post, but in my opinion, it's a pain in the butt for YouTube. So again, the best details are going to come from mirrorless or DSLR cameras. They have bigger sensors that can capture more details, they're better in lower light, they have a lot better customization, a lot better inputs, outputs, there's just more control in general. You can also get lenses to further expand your range of what you can do with the camera. A nice thing if you're going to use this for YouTube is you can also take nice quality stills, either to put in your videos themselves or just use for thumbnails. The camcorder, obviously very easy to set up, very portable. If you get the mid-range $500 to $600 one, you can get a good amount of zoom, decent amount of detail, decent features. There is some customization in some manual mode, but in my experience, that manual mode is somewhat limited and much clunkier than a DSLR. I will note that it requires less knowledge to use all these features on the camcorder, so if you just want something to pick up and shoot, that might be a really good option. I started that way. However, I noticed that my footage had a lot of issues that I wanted to fix, and I knew I could fix with a mirrorless camera. Because of these deficiencies and the release of new hardware at a lower price point, I eventually replaced the V770 camcorder with the Panasonic G85, which is what I'm shooting with right now and what I've been using for about a year. This thing is phenomenal. I will link it in the description below and show you some pictures. It's great for shooting video, YouTube, stills in general, although I don't use it for stills much. Reversible articulating LCD screen. It's got an external input for a mic. It can record 4K at 30 FPS, at 1080p at 60 and 30 FPS, and it doesn't overheat. It doesn't overheat, Sony. Anyways, it's a great camera and it comes with a kit lens for about $900. Color, mirrorless or DSLR, hands down, destroys everything. Ironically, my phone did a pretty good job. The camcorder was noticeably behind the phone, and the webcam, again, dumpster colors. I'm kidding, but the colors were inferior to all the other options. Ease of use and complexity. This bleeds over a little bit. It's kind of hard to determine, but camcorder, in my opinion, is number one. You got the screen. Everybody knows how to use a camcorder. You point at whatever you want to film. It's easy. The phone comes in at a very close number two. Webcam's at 3. It is pretty easy, but it's not as easy to move around and shoot on the go. Not to mention, sometimes you have to tweak your webcam settings to get something that looks good. It might be washed out, the colors might be crap. There is a little bit of tinkering, more than you need to do with the other two options. And finally, for the mirrorless or DSLR camera, there is some stuff to learn. In my opinion, if you spend a couple hours, you'll get the basics. And if you spend a few hours more, you'll get some of the nitty-gritty stuff. If you learn about aperture, white balance, ISO, all that stuff. I find that fun now. I was scared of it, I'm not going to lie. I shied away from it and got the camcorder at first because I didn't want to learn it and I thought it was too hard or too much effort. And reality is, I learned a lot, I ended up liking photography a little bit, and now I can take much better quality video with much better controls. Again, with just reading a few articles, playing around with it, and learning, because it's always good to learn. Final conclusions. I actually thought about this a lot. I wrote this video in a lot of steps. I watched the footage over and over again, did a bunch of research, and in my opinion, this is the best thing you can do for starting out with either a camera or a YouTube channel. If you're not doing YouTube or internet video, this might, some of it might be a little bit irrelevant, but either way, I'll start in the order that I would begin if I was going to start this YouTube thing all over again from scratch and I didn't know anything. I honestly would start with a phone and a little mini tripod. You can get those for pretty cheap. Everybody has a phone. If your phone can shoot at 1080p at 30 frames per second, it is actually usually pretty good video with decent light. Your audio you need to use the rear-facing camera. I forgot to mention that. The front cameras are usually garbage. You are going to have to be recording yourself like this, so like I can't obviously frame myself. So if you get a tripod and everything, you can set it up and get an idea of what's in frame and what's not, but it is going to be difficult. However, if you want to start off and take decent quality video, you can do that. And if you want to take crap video, you could always use the front-facing camera and actually see if you're in frame or not. Your audio won't be that good. However, for about $15 or $20, you can buy one of these. This is a little lav mic, and it's a little clip-on mic. And you'll often see these in, talk shows and stuff like that. Obviously, they'll be much nicer, but you can get a decent one to start for $15 or $20. And that will take your audio to a much better quality. It'll be better detailed, less echoey, etc. compared to the stock phone. If you're going to just get started on YouTube, I would get a little lav mic for 15 or 20 bucks, get a little mini tripod for, again, 10 to 20 bucks, and you can, get rolling, see what you like. Now this part I thought about a lot. I actually recommend getting the Panasonic G7 for a smaller channel that you've gotten more serious about, or a medium-sized channel. This is about a $500 camera that comes with a 14 to 42 millimeter kit lens. It films in 1080p video and 4K, and it has the necessary things like an articulating screen and a mic input so you can use an external mic. So if you wanted to improve your audio with really any camera, you use an external solution. This is a Rode VideoMic Pro with a dead cat, is what they call it, windscreen over it. Most of these consumer solutions connect with a 3.5 millimeter hookup. This will drastically improve your audio. So if you wanted to record something at home, you could get a mic like I have, but you'll be chained to your desk. I do a lot of my stuff in front of my computer, so it's not a big deal. But if you want to be more mobile, a solution like this might be good. The reason I recommend the G7 for about $500 is you get a lot for that money, and it gives you good details, good options for expandability, and a lot more room to grow, and just better quality footage. You can spend, my next option is to get a camcorder for about $500. You can get the V770 I used for about $500. There's a newer model, the HC V800 for about $600. These are going to have decent footage, but it's just not as good as what you'll get with the G7. Something I would note is if you want the ease of use of a camcorder but better detail, you can buy camcorders for $900 to $1,000 that have a little bit better control, not as good as DSLR, but much better detail. You'll see a lot of YouTubers or whatever online that have these $1,000 camcorders that do a pretty good job. There's been a lot of iterations. The most current model is the Canon HF G21 Full HD. That is the up-to-date 2018 model that will give you 1080p footage with good quality detail. Again, this is $900 to $1,000, so you're starting to jump up. So if you want the ease of use of a camcorder with better detail, that's what I would recommend. Now, if you want to get more serious, you also want to dabble in photography, or you just have more money to burn, I would recommend what I've got, the Panasonic G85. I would recommend the G85 over the camcorder I just mentioned, just because you're probably going to have better detail, you're going to have better stills, you're going to have better controls, and overall better footage. It checks all the boxes for me. It's got good quality details, a fairly big sensor, an articulating reversible LCD screen so I can look over there and see what I'm recording, an external mic output, something that a lot of cameras, Sony, didn't have for a long time. It doesn't overheat when you're doing video, A6000, it's just an all-around good camera. I really like this thing. It is a little bit bigger than the A6000 I have, but again, it is much better for doing video. If you're more serious about your video and you have the $900 to $1,000, I would recommend this with the 12 to 60 millimeter kit lens. It's a great camera, and you're up and running for the camera plus you should get a little lens filter cover protector for about 20 bucks, but you're good to go. And then you can get the external mic if you really want to kick it up a notch, but you've got a pretty good package. As far as video goes, this thing is great. There's one final thing that I won't recommend for the average user. If you're really enthusiast, rich, or your channel's huge, you can get the Panasonic G9 or the GH5. The reason I'm not jumping into those right away, the bodies alone are $1,600 and $1,800 respectively. So yeah, they're expensive. You add on the 12 to 60 millimeter lens, you're at about $2,000. Yeah, that's a lot. So I wasn't trying to get those anytime soon. This YouTube channel is a pretty big part of my life. I like doing it. I like creating. I want to do it more. I try to do it more. The G85 was the best. It was essentially the perfect convergence of everything for me, and I highly recommend it. It is a little bit expensive, and I understand this is kind of stupid because you don't see any G85 footage in this video, but you see the Sony a6000 mirrorless camera footage in this video. The footage to the G85 is very similar, but it's much better suited for recording video. So this is very meandering, but something like this is prone to happen when the video footage I tested is 2 years old, and I've gone through, I guess, 2 cameras since then. So it's been quite a journey, but again, my recommendation is if you want to spend $500, go with the G7. If you want to spend about $1,000, go with the G85. And if you just want to dip your toes in, you can either get a webcam, which I don't think is the best option, but it's a starter, and that'll cost you about $50 for the Logitech 920C or C920, I can never remember, or about $40-50 for a little lav mic and a little tripod for your phone. Again, you'll get the best details with a mirrorless or DSLR camera. You might even find the DSLRs can take good video. Mirrorless cameras in general are better suited for it. If you do see a DSLR camera maybe used or on sale, or if you just have one laying around, you want to make sure it can shoot 1080p at 30 FPS. Ideally, you want 60, but 30 is the minimum point that you should really be looking for. So you might be able to grab one of those and get up and running for even less money. So the point of this video is, decide what's most important to you. If you want better detail and control, go with a mirrorless or DSLR camera. If you want more ease of use, go with a camcorder, and you can jump with a higher priced camcorder to get better detail. But again, realize you're, in my opinion, shooting yourself in the foot if you go with a $1,000 camcorder when you can get a G85 instead. I do have to say, it feels good to finally wrap up this video. I forgot about it, and then I didn't feel like working on it for some reason. Then I had a bunch of crap going on. And I'm finally, it's nice. I had a lot of time to reflect. Usually with YouTube, you shoot something, you try to get it done as soon as possible. I had a lot of time to learn multiple pieces of equipment, and I feel like I gave you a better review because of it. So I had a year with a camcorder, about a year with the G85, and before that, off and on some experience with the Sony a6000. So I hope this review was very helpful for you. I hope it helps you pick a better camera and make a more informed purchasing decision. Again, if you do decide to research any of this or buy any of it, please use the links in the description below because it does help support the channel. So thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Compulsion84 and I like to make videos about guns, gaming, and gadgets. Subscribe to my channel for more great content, and I hope I see you next time.